Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel and the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel. Obviously, this is Pro Wrestling Logic. We've got over 2,000 audios available for your listening pleasure. This is the SmackDown report for this past Friday. I believe that's the Friday, the 15th of October. This is a supersized SmackDown because they're trying to compete with AEW, and because they were moved to FS1 instead of their primary Fox affiliate. So, show begins at 8 p.m. Michael Cole and Pat McCaffrey open the show, run down tonight's lineup. Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar contract signing. Edge segment. Edge makes his way out to the entrance, gets a big pop. They recap him attacking Seth Rollins, challenging him to Hell in a Cell. They show Rollins watching the interview in the back. Edge then grabs a chair, sits in the middle of the ring, and fans are happy with this. He notes that the feud started 7 years ago when Rollins tries to use him as a stepping stone. Edge points out that Rollins knew that he wasn't medically cleared by calling him out. Edge then recaps Rollins breaking into his home. He becomes emotional and angry at talking about this, and then he talks about his family some more, and obviously that fuels the emotion. Edge admits that Rollins took a page out of his own book and mentioned the time he slapped John Cena's dad. Fans cheer for this. It doesn't make sense that they would cheer for this, but they did. Edge admits Rollins isn't Edge light, he's Seth Rollins. Fans erupt into "You suck" chants. Edge then says he has to finish this because it affected his family. Edge notes he could go to Rollins' house and have him enter, and then the fans boo him going to Rollins' house. Edge promised not to hesitate this time and said that the trilogy ends Hell in a Cell. He promises to scar Rollins' soul and notes that it's a scar he'll never heal from. Cole and McCaffrey recap Sami Zayn beating Rey Mysterio and Finn Balor defeating Cesaro in the King of the Ring matches last week. King of the Ring semifinal. Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, they have a decent match. They run 11 and a half minutes here. Balor notes that winning the tournament is a great achievement, but he's going to accomplish even greater feat. And that is to shut up Zayn himself. Balor then goes for the early advantage, but Zayn fights back, and then there's an elbow. Fans break into Sammy sucks chant, and Zayn catches Balor with a sunset flip. Balor then rolls through and hits a drop kick. Balor follows up with an arm drag. Zayn breaks free with a clothesline, and fans break into "Let's Go Balor" chants. Zayn then slows the pace down, chin lock. Balor breaks free, sends Zayn to the floor, and then there's a flip dive, because of course every match has to have dives. Back from the break, Zayn is in control, but Balor fights back. They trade shots in the middle of the ring, ending with Pele kick from Balor. Zayn then ends up on the apron, and Balor sends him into the ring post. Zayn then hangs Balor on top rope, climbs into the corner. Balor recovers and attempts a superplex. Zayn knocks him off. Zayn then goes for a crossbody, but Balor hits a drop kick in midair and a close near fall. Zayn fights back and hits a Blue Thunder Bomb for a near fall of his own. Zayn then goes for an exploder suplex in the corner, goes for the Helluva kick, but Balor avoids it. Balor then catches Zayn with a kick, but Zayn recovers, rolls up. Balor with feet on the ropes, but referee catches him. Balor recovers and hits a shotgun drop kick in the corner. Zayn avoids the coup de grace and then rolls Balor up for a near fall. Balor then fights back with a sling blade. Finish comes with Balor hitting two shotgun drop kicks and a coup de grace for the win. Balor advances King of the Ring finals crown jewel against the winner of Xavier Woods and Jinder Mahal. This is obviously a one-sided affair. Cole and McCaffrey discuss Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns contract signing. McCaffrey calls Reigns the best in the world. They promote Drew McIntyre debuting next Friday on SmackDown and big moments including winning the 2020 Royal Rumble and the WWE Championship. They recap Lesnar and Reigns' feud, focuses on Paul Heyman's involvement and warning Lesnar last week. Sonya Deville and Shayna Baszler defeat Naomi in 2 minutes. Why even have them get dressed for this? Who knows? Because, well, no one really cares. But anyway, we will go in the direction of me answering my phone, and I will be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. And again, I mean, this is a really weak SmackDown if you think about it. It's also, to be honest, when has SmackDown not been a weak show? Anyway, so we move into the continuation of kind of hype for Sonya Deville and Shayna Baszler versus Naomi. Again, why even have them get ready? They didn't have time, rushed through match. Fans also didn't care about it because poor Naomi's been squashed off. Earlier today, Naomi discussed finally having a match and expected to face Deville on her own. They showed Deville in the back watching Naomi make her entrance. Back from the break, Deville walks out and yells to shut off the music. Notes that Naomi left her office before she's finished talking, and then introduces her partner, Shayna Baszler. Baszler jumps Naomi, but then Naomi fights back to the head. Naomi then chased Deville out to the floor and back into the ring. Baszler runs at Naomi, but then hits a dropkick and into the legs. Naomi recovers and hits a kick off the middle rope on Baszler. Deville then grabs Naomi's leg, and Baszler locks on the Coquina clutch. Naomi passes out, and Deville covers her with a single foot. They promise Hit Row's upcoming debut. Michael Cole and Pat McAfee run down Crown Jewel lineup. Seth Rollins segment. Rollins then comes out to respond to Edge's comments from earlier. Fans break into a loud Seth sucks chant, and then Rollins makes fun of Edge for convincing fans that he could beat him at Crown Jewel. Rollins notes that he's not afraid to face Edge at Hell in a Cell, but Hell is has already frozen over. He then brags that Edge admitted to being wrong and that he's not Edge light. Rollins screams that he is not afraid to face Edge at Hell in a Cell. Fans break into a Harley Quinn chant because Rollins basically is wearing a suit that I guess reminds them of some horror film character or something. Anyway, fans break into a loud chant of "We Want Edge." Rollins notes that he has more time in the cell than Edge has in the past. Rollins then claims that he's the man today because of Hell in a Cell. Rollins adds that he's a visionary, revolutionary, and Seth Rollins. They recapped Carmella beating Liv Morgan last week and Zelina Vega beating Toni Storm in the Queen of the Cup tournament, and we're supposed to care. Queen's Crown tournament semifinals, Zelina Vega defeats Carmella 241. Why even have them get dressed? Match was what it was. Didn't have enough time to really tell any sort of story. Vega approaches Carmella in the back, and they're happy. Morgan and Storm didn't make it to the semifinals. Vega tells Carmella she doesn't have to wear the mask because they would have a nice, clean match. They agreed, no hitting in the face. Before the match, Carmella tells the employees that she didn't need the mask tonight. Vega had the early advantage and takes Carmella down to the mat, which impresses Carmella. Carmella then takes over and slows down the basic pack with an armbar. Vega then uses the ropes to break free and takes Carmella down with an arm drag. Carmella then kicks Vega in the face, claims that it's an accident. Vega is furious, and they agree to be hitting the face. Carmella tries to apologize, but Vega didn't care and takes down Carmella with the Thesz press. Carmella then freaks out and jumps out of the ring, gets her mask. Morgan appears out of nowhere holding the mask. Finish comes when Morgan goes after Carmella, so they jump back into the ring. Vega takes advantage and catches Carmella with a small package for the win. Vega advances in the Queen's Crown Tournament final at Crown Jewel and faces the winner of Doudrop and Shayna Baszler. Happy Talk, just a completely goofy segment. Corbin and Moss come out, tell some horrible jokes. They recap last week's Happy Talk. Happy Corbin introduces his guest, and that's Madcap Moss. As the funniest person he knows, Rick Boggs then cuts Moss off after coming in and doesn't want to hear this. Boogs then introduces Shinsuke Nakamura to a decent crowd reaction. Nakamura, Boogs, and McCaffrey rocked out. Nakamura's music. Nakamura and Boogs danced around ringside, and they go back up the ramp. Suddenly, Street Profits music hits, and Boogs played their music as well. In the back, Sasha Banks discusses her upcoming match with Becky Lynch, and she promises to beat Lynch tonight and win the title at Crown Jewel. They announce New Day's debut next week. Street Profits and the Usos defeat, or Street Fight for the tag team titles. Usos defeat the Street Profits to retain the titles in 10 minutes 58 seconds. They have a decent enough match, but honestly, who cares about either of these teams at this point? They're stale, and their stories really don't mesh with something that has to be there. All four guys start brawling around the ring. Angelo Dawkins catches Jay with a twisting neck breaker. Ford comes back, and Jimmy in the corner. Jay makes the save. Usos then jump out of the ring and toss Dawkins into the barricade. Ford leaps over the corner and hits a huge dive, and onto the Usos. Street Profits do the Dudley Boys deal. Dawkins yells to Ford to get the tables. Fans pop for this. And then back from the break, the Usos are in control. Jay pulls out a kendo stick for a pop from the crowd. Usos beat down Dawkins with a kendo stick, and then the fans chant one more time. Usos snapped and beat down Dawkins. Ford then hits a flying crossbody onto both Usos to regain control. Ford then runs wild and sends Uso out of the ring. He then drop kicks a chair into Jimmy's head, and there's a near fall. Jimmy jumps back in and hits a pop-up Samoan drop for near fall again. Street Profits take out and beat down Jay with the kendo stick. Fans are reasonably okay with this, and they go for the Doomsday Device. Jimmy makes the save. They rock forward with a double super kick, and then Usos hit a double super kick on JaVale for a close near fall, and then they go for the double splash. Ford pulls up Jay off the concrete. Dawkins hits a spine buster on Jimmy, and Ford hits the frog splash, but Jay breaks up the pin. Jay then slams Ford through the table. At ringside, Dawkins briefly goes nuts, but the Usos recover, and then they do the double super kick followed with two splashes for the win. In the back, Becky Lynch responds to Sasha Banks from earlier. Cole notes that they were about to go to their last commercial break of the night. Back from the last break, they promote Charlotte Flair debuting on SmackDown next week, as if they think this brand extension junk matters. Banks and Lynch had a really good match. They start slow, but it picks up, and obviously tells a decent story. They recapped the contract signing between Lynch, Banks, and Belair from last week. Banks and Lynch trade headlocks, and the fans break into dueling "Let's Go Becky, Let's Go Sasha" chants, and they traded pin attempts, and this ends in a stalemate. Then they go back and forth, going for the disarmor and the Banks statement. Banks takes over with a double knee in the corner. Fans break into a brief Becky chant, and Lynch fights back and catches Banks with a leg drop to gain control. Banks then fights back, and Lynch is on the apron. Banks then goes for the double knees, but Lynch moves, and Banks crashes into the ring post. Lynch then scores a near fall and throws Banks out of the ring. Lynch then tries to win by countout, but Banks then barely beats the count. Banks tries to get to fight back, but Lynch then goes after a leg and hits a a bulldog for a 2 count. Lynch then slows the pace down with a chin lock, but Banks breaks free and hits the Three Amigos. And then the suplexes are near fall. Fans break into a loud Eddie chant, and Banks ends up on the apron, and Lynch then throws her into the ring post. Lynch catches Banks in the turnbuckle. Lynch then jumps to the second turnbuckle, but Banks avoids it and hits a back stabber. Lynch then rolls out to the floor, but Banks goes off and hits her pretty hard. Banks then attempts a powerbomb off the apron, but Lynch counters with a leg drop. Lynch then leaps out on the steps, but Banks locks onto the Banks statement on the floor. Lynch taps, but didn't count because they're all in the ring. Banks then hits a frog splash for a very close near fall. Lynch then takes back over and hits a leg drop off the second turnbuckle for a 2 count. Lynch attempted a leg drop, but Banks moved out of the way. Then they fight in front of the announce table. At ringside, Lynch pushes Banks, and they almost collides with Belair. Banks moves, and Lynch nails Belair with a forearm. Banks then hits a knee off the announce table, and Lynch hits the barricade. Banks goes for the frog splash, but Lynch gets the knees up. Lynch and Banks trade near falls, and Banks locks in the Banks statement. Lynch makes it to the ropes and breaks the hold in the process. Finish comes when Belair hits Lynch with her ponytail, which distracts Lynch and actually appeared confused, and Banks then hits a backstabber on Lynch for the win. Adam Pearce runs out and orders. They set up the contract signing for Roman and Brock. Next week, the new SmackDown roster goes into effect night after Crown Jewel. The contract signing is pretty basic. Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman make their way into the entrance, and they get a decent enough reaction. McCaffrey calls Reigns the best in the world, and he walks out of the ring. Lesnar then enters and gets a pop from the fans. Lesnar then sits down at the table. Reigns stands up. Lesnar then puts his feet up on the desk, and the fans break into a loud Suplex City chant. Reigns then demands that Paul Heyman read the contract first. Before he signs it, Heyman reads it and advises Reigns to sign. Lesnar grabs the contract and signs it without reading. Reigns laughs and calls Lesnar dumb for not reading it. Lesnar takes the mic and tells Reigns he's read the contract this morning and that his advocate Paul Heyman. Reigns and Heyman are shocked as the fans popped, and Lesnar walks off laughing. Cole and McCaffrey run down the Crown Jewel thing, and we close the show. Honestly, if this is the best they can do when AEW is trying, this is really sad. WWE is a stale brand at the very least.